having the opportunity in all things to be visible and vocal and engaged. And we live in an experience-based city. We live in a city that prides itself on diversity and cultural expression, and creating an element of excitement is, I think, the most important thing we can do. Certainly for young people who live here, they want to be able to, whether it's a club scene or museums, and I think that we've seen some great work on the part of our cultural institutions to make themselves relevant to young people and to bring young people in. I'm proud of the fact that I co-sponsored then Supervisor Amiano's landmark legislation, the Public Education Enrichment Fund. I was his first co-sponsor, and I worked diligently on it. And we have an arts master plan for our schools. And more than anything, arts and culture are a means to engage our young people and to take young people, no matter what their circumstance is or what their level of academic success may be recognized as, and to challenge them and to inspire them. For me, I see our arts as being integral to our economic development plan, certainly with the absence of federal and state money for the arts, that we've become very reliant on the hotel tax and seen about a 20% hit there, as well as drying up of resources at other levels of government. And so I've led delegations. I led an LGBT delegation of 34 gays and lesbians and Heclina the drag queen to Sydney, Australia 2 years ago, to really promote tourism coming to San Francisco, to bring LGBT tourists, to focus on our 23 sister city relationships, to look at those forms of cultural exchange. But we've got to fill up our hotel rooms and create that, that economic engine and that sense of urgency. I think that I have a reputation of having been probably one of the most active people in city government around preservation of the club scene and all of its various forms, and recognizing that, you know, there are constantly issues that have to be worked out with neighbors and neighborhoods to make sure that clubs are good neighbors. But I think that we can definitely work with our police and the neighborhoods to make it respectful, but the reality is that no one wants to live in a city that rolls up its sidewalks at 9 o'clock. And so the things that you've seen in Paris, where you have cultural institutions that are open all night, they call it Blanc Nuit, which would not be very popular here. White Night is something that was part of our history, and I wouldn't go back to that. But I think the notion of creating these great experiences that people enjoy. So why don't I stop there?
Assessor Ting, you have 1 minute for a follow-up question.
Oh, for a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do a...
And then there'll be a rebuttal. And you can answer the question.
Sure. Supervisor, what would you say is your proudest accomplishment during your time on the board, or even before that, in terms of your contribution to the arts?
That's a sweet question. Thank you, Phil. So for me, I was really interested in the GLBT Historical Society, which is located over the Cartoon Museum, and I'd go in the audiences and 90% of the people had never been there. So it was very important to me that to make the Castro sustainable, we needed to anchor cultural institutions there. We've not been successful in getting theater there, but I have been successful in bringing back a museum space which has a lot of events at it. And so when people come to the Castro, they can get more than a t-shirt and a sex toy. They can actually come and learn about Phyllis and Dell. They can learn about our community's history. Although t-shirts and sex toys are wonderful. I don't want to speak on that.
Thank you very much. Now, Assessor Ting, the same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I'm fine. Thanks, man. Well, it's great to be up here with Supervisor Dufty. You know, I think for too long, arts has been seen as a luxury in San Francisco, which it's not. We are now an innovation economy. We are an economy of very creative people. And creative people throughout history have challenged the current status quo, have challenged workplace norms, have challenged the way that we have traditionally do business. And whether it's in government, whether it's in a corporation, whether it is how we are structured societally, it's so important that we do everything possible to foster a creative class here in San Francisco. If you think about it, this innovation economy, that's the reason why we have a huge group of folks in digital media. It's probably one of the reasons Lucas decided to move from Marin to San Francisco. It's not a mistake that Zynga's here, or that Yelp is here, or that Twitter's here. It's because the same folks who may have been artists at one point decided to changed careers are now working in digital media. It's that exact same backbone of the economy. In fact, I think we should look at arts in a completely different way. For too long, we have looked at arts like charity, like we hand out money to artists and they do things to enrich our culture. We should almost look at it, I'm a little, I don't know that we should be talking to bankers right now, but I think we should look at it like a civic return on investment. And if you look at what is a civic return on investment, if you look at the arts economy, the nonprofit and culture economy generate about $1 billion a year. For every $1 we put into arts, we get about $7 back. So why are we talking about that? Why are we talking about cutting arts when clearly the money we invest in arts returns us so much more? It's the same challenge to the cultural norm, which is why we started Reset San Francisco, which was really to say, hey, it's not, we don't want to run the same kind of campaign. We're trying to run a different campaign. In the campaign, I would just say earlier today, traditional campaigns is, you raise the most money, you get the most endorsements, go get your base, and that's sort of generally how campaigns have been won. Well, with this kind of field, with this kind of campaign candidacy, I think the rules are going to change. And with ranked choice voting and public financing, it's really unsure how everything's going to work out. So what we try to do is almost change the way the campaigns are going to be run, just the same way I think artists and creative people have changed the way San Francisco is. It used to be, to think about it, San Francisco was a corporate headquarters. People like me in suits would be working at AT&T or at AT&T/Pac Bell, Chevron, all these corporations that have now since moved out of San Francisco, yet the economy hasn't shrunk, it's grown. And it's grown because we've been able to bring in companies like Zynga, companies like Twitter, companies like Lucas, and really help grow this whole new economy. It's not that we're poor, we're actually richer, and we're actually better. And it's actually somewhat of a better fit because culturally, these folks don't want to be in Cupertino or Sunnyvale. They could. They could choose to live there. They get the same job opportunities. Why are they living in San Francisco? 30% of Twitter bikes to work. They are part of here because they want to be part of this creative economy and part of this creative culture.
A 1 minute follow-up question.
Great. Politics is personal, so I wondered if you could share a memorable concert that you went to as a high school or college student, or a school play, or if you were in band. And then the second part of it is that if I were to research myself for this forum, I would say the biggest reason to vote against me is how much Nickelodeon and Disney I watch having a child. And so you also have a 4-year-old, and I wonder how you reset your culture budget.
Absolutely. On your, I'll answer the last one first. The funny thing is, I answered in your questionnaire because the questionnaire asked, well, what arts have you done the last year? And I kind of scratched my head because everything, Bevan and I, we have daughters about 6 weeks apart, so we've gone through preschool and daycare together. And everything that I've done in the last, feels like year, it's all about sort of Play-Doh and glue and sticks and paper and drawing. And I think it shows really the importance of how important art now is, more important even in my life, because I'm looking at it through her eyes and how her mind grows and how it expands and how it's absolutely amazing. I think in college, some of the most influential experiences during college that I went to were going to Asian American Theater Company plays and seeing these, at that time, fairly not well-known playwrights like David Henry Hwang or Philip Kangotanda start plays and grow them, and really seeing how if there wasn't an Asian American Theater Company, how they would have never made it to Broadway. It just wouldn't have happened. And it was because of because of the money for the arts that was made a reality.
Well, thank you for that question.